Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Rick's Tech Pub. I don't have my phone with me, so I'm going to have to guess at the date. I'm thinking it's, well, it tells me down here it's Wednesday, December 3rd. Oh my goodness. This year is wrapping up pretty quickly. I'm kind of surprised by that. This year has gone by so quickly. Hello, Ski Man. Looks like you're the only one here today. So, how you doing? Hope you're doing okay. Gosh, Darren isn't even here. I gotta check to see how many people I have watching. Come on. No information available. Current viewer says nothing. Chat rates nothing. Views is nothing. I have one like. You see four? I don't. Although mine's probably not working like it's supposed to. Mine's just all zeros. So I don't know. Concurrent viewers, it says too. Ken Stout, hello. Oh, you're here, but on the phone. So it was a cold night here last night. Just not very warm. And I don't know if they're having problems with their boiler system or something, because I turned the heat on, and there's just a little bit of heat coming out, just probably enough to stop the pipes from freezing. But yeah, it's cold. And I also had to delete one of my scenes, my side camera or my front camera I kept, but the side, or I think the top camera, I had to delete that because Carrie's video started again, and this time it wouldn't let me click on interact. The interact wouldn't show up no matter what I clicked on. So I was running out of time. There's about 2 minutes left, and I said, fuck it, I'm just going to delete the damn thing. And I did. End of problem. I don't know why it does that. It just, every once in a while, you turn everything on, and that video starts playing. Morning or afternoon? Yeah, good morning or good afternoon. Jeff Ryman, good to see you here today. So I don't have much to say today, but I do have a little bit of Microsoft news. As probably everybody knows, they have the Windows updates that um, I don't know. On that, I think I might wait a few days because they're having that File Explorer problem that when you open File Explorer, it flashes white really quick for not even a second. It's just a really quick flash you can barely see. But if you look closely enough, you can't see it. It's just a flash white, and then it turns to the normal File Explorer. Um, some people are saying they have that fixed by now, or if not by now, they're gonna have it fixed. Um, there's a whole bunch of stories out on that one. The new start menu. And again, my biggest complaint about Microsoft is they keep messing with the start menu and the way the taskbar and everything's working. Not a lot that you would probably notice, but they are tweaking the taskbar. They're just kind of making changes, bug fixes, and all kinds of things. But they still say that that new start menu is supposed to show up one of these days. It's a slow, very slow, gradual rollout. They said they were going to start doing that about a week or so ago. So I guess they're being very slow about it because I haven't got it yet. And now some people are wondering if you don't have it. Now they're starting to wonder why don't you have it. I don't know. I can't answer that question. I'm not Microsoft. But as far as I know, um, they say that your computer should get the new start menu. I'm not looking forward to it. Um, it's not really. They've got the Android part under the start menu, which means it's going to tie in with your phone. But again, I'm sure there's ways to turn that off, and I will be. I don't want my computer interacting with my phone. Those are two separate devices. They should stay separate, but Microsoft is trying to get them to interact and communicate together, and I don't think that's a good idea. Android in with Windows? No. I don't like that idea. Firefox has a new dedicated backup tool for Windows 11 upgrades. And I'll put that into what you will of what you want. They got a new backup tool. So when you upgrade Windows, it has a new tool for to back everything up in Firefox, I guess. I'm not sure. Windows preview update for November 2025. Search control sends control panel, keyboard, and cursor settings to the settings app. So they're gonna move things. Eventually, I think they're just gonna start. There won't be very much left of the control panel. That's a something they've been working on for a while. So eventually, I think the control panel will disappear. But I don't know. I kind of like the control panel. The settings app, I don't know. It just doesn't sit well with me. Looks different, works different. It just doesn't have the same feeling as the control panel did. But at any rate, there eventually the control panel will be gone because it's a legacy. It's a legacy thing, and Windows, in some ways, is trying to get rid of the legacy things, and they're slowly killing the control panel. Not something I want. A lot of people don't want them doing that, but that is what they're doing. They're just doing away with the control panel slowly, and they're dragging us through the mud as they do that. That's my opinion. Nobody else has said that, but I kind of feel like that's what they're doing. Is they're just dragging us through the mud, taking us and making the changes whether we want it or not. A lot of the changes I don't want, but what can I do about it? I'm just a single person. If they're going to change something, there's not much I can do to stop them. Google Chrome 143 is now available with security fixes, bug fixes, new features. Whole bunch of things going on with Google Chrome 143. It's now available, and I know a bunch of us updated our browsers yesterday. I think I was on Zoom yesterday, and few of us updated the browser. Any browser you have, you should probably update. Microsoft Edge, all the browsers that are out there you should probably just click on the update and see if there are updates. I know there's some people that do that every day, every week. I'm not big on updates, so I just don't check. Eventually it'll update because when you shut down the browser and you restart it, it will update on its own. So if you want the updates to take effect, just close your browser and then restart it, and it will start doing the download and update to the latest version. I usually don't do anything until I get pushed to. When they really start nagging at me, say, you got to do this, then I'll say, all right, fine, I'll do it. But not until then. I'm in no hurry. Oh, and AMD, what's up with AMD? They're raising their prices. I think a lot of companies are. I think Nvidia is raising the prices. AMD, for all the memory prices. DDR5 is just outrageously expensive. Last I heard on some of the higher prices for two sticks of RAM, for DDR5, the higher end memory is $500 or $600. Ouch! That's a little expensive. And of course they say it's all because of AI and all this other garbage that they're blaming AI. Which I guess I look at it backwards. I thought AI would bring prices down, but I guess I was imagining things because and I've been told by other people I'm stupid for thinking that way. Of course, AI is going to raise the prices. Why would it lower it? Well, so that people like me can afford to go get DDR5. Right now, I'm not going to pay $500 or $600 for rent. I'm not going to do it. They bring it down to 200 some dollars, maybe 300. I might, but I'm used to the $100, maybe 160, 170 for two RAM sticks. That I'll do that, but not at five or $600. That's just. IoT Enterprise LSTCs. Yeah, you were saying that last night, and I don't know. I'm kind of stubborn. I gotta stick with Windows, and as long as Windows 11 lets me do what I wanted it to do, I don't care what else it does. Everybody else seems to be kind of worried, getting themselves worried sick about what Windows is doing, and just do what you got to do on Windows 11 and don't bother with anything else. Yeah, it's got its little glitches here and there, but as long as it does what I want it to do, I don't really worry about it. But I do understand that people just don't like change and they want to stay to what they were on, and Microsoft is killing the older computers, which um, I don't know. I've got mixed feelings on that. It's kind of a good thing, but yet I do understand it's a bad thing. But I'm always kind of in favor of get rid of the old, get the new. But the way new things are working nowadays, I guess it's things kind of need to take a little bit of a change. But I always welcome the new stuff. But even though the new stuff today is just kind of not what we want, I kind of ignore all that and I just do what I got to do and get it done and just be done and over with, and just I try not to worry about it. Although with Recall, and I think Recall is only on Windows 11 Pro, I think. I don't think they have that tied into Windows Home, but and again, even if it was, it's not bothering me. But everybody else is up in arms about this Recall. Um, I don't really see it as being a huge problem, although I probably wouldn't use it, but I don't see it being an issue. For me, I know everybody else on the planet, you know, even from the teenagers to the elders, are just saying this Recall is just, they're telling everybody not to use it. Well, I know a few people, they say it's a helpful tool to them. Recall is something they do use. And the thing I don't believe is Windows says that all that information from the when they record. What the hell is he doing? Uh, what was I talking about? Recall. And people are saying that Recall records everything that it does on your desktop. As far as I know, that stays local on your computer, but people around the world are trying to prove to me that it doesn't. It actually goes back. Well, I'm sure it does go back to Microsoft um, in other platforms. So I don't think it's totally private like they claim it is. The other places are getting your information. It's not just. I don't see how it can just stay on local on your desktop without Microsoft getting involved from the back door, and Microsoft seeing that information sitting there. They can harvest that information if they wanted to. I don't think they are. Maybe they are. I don't care. I don't use recall, but a lot of people are just still today. They're complaining about it. They don't like it. But again, I don't have recall, so I don't worry about it. Amongst other people, they're just constantly complaining. They're complaining to complain is what it is. YouTube for 2025 launches, or well, not for well, we have this year. YouTube launches its first personalized video recap. I think they did recap a couple years ago. I think they had something like recap or something in there. Hello, Tim. Um, I think they had something familiar to recap or whatever it was a couple years ago, but I don't know. I don't. That's another thing I don't keep up on. But Gamers Nexus. Oh my God! Did he ever go off on my? When he swears and he basically told some of these companies to shut the f up. They're bragging and saying all these price hikes are a good thing, and Steve Burke just kind of went off the rails and just told them to shut the f up. It's not. I don't see high prices being a good thing, and it's only a good thing for the people that are in that company. They're getting more money out of it. But for us, we're having to suffer the consequences of that because you know memory, CPUs, GPUs, and all that. They're gonna take a steady. Well, I think they said up to like 25%, from 5 to 25%, maybe higher. So, um, be looking for prices to go up on almost everything for CPUs, memory, NVMe's, um, anything that has something to do with some kind of memory thing, and other reasons. The prices on all those are going to go up. Raspberry Pi, they went up in price. I think they went up. Now their price, I believe, is in the hundreds, or 125, I think. If it's not there yet, it will be, because that's what people are predicting. Is the Raspberry Pis and all those kind of devices are their prices are going to skyrocket. So yeah, it's kind of an unfortunate situation that we're sitting in. That people are wanting to build computers like me, um, and they're starting to. In fact, they have already stopped the production of DDR4. So whatever's out there for DDR4 memory that is out there now, don't expect it to last too long, because they've already stopped making DDR4 memory. Now they're making DDR5, and the prices are kind of choking us out from buying memory. But everything, like I said, everything is going to go up in price. It's just not the memory. It's CPUs, NVMe's, video. My phone got a notification. Video cards are going to go up substantially in price. If you think they were expensive before, you got another thing coming. The prices that they're at now, and they're in thousands of dollars, that price is going to take a little bit more of a hike upward. And then eventually they'll fluctuate back down to a more, I wouldn't say reasonable price, because they're still highly expensive. But yeah, they're going to go up in price. I don't think by much, and I don't think it will last. I think this bubble of the price hike, I do believe at some point it's going to break. And the prices are going to go crashing back down to what they were 3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago. But until then, we're just going to have to hold on and wait out the storm for the The price wars, the price wars, as I call it. I suppose those articles are to say the opposite of what I just said. Because you can remove recall or whatever. I don't think you can. They say you can, but I think that's tied into the operating system. I think you can shut it down, but to take recall out of Windows Professional, I don't think there's an easy way of doing that unless they've changed things. I'll check on those articles later, or you'll have to give them to me tonight, because yeah, thank you, Tim. Uh, yeah, they say it's an well, yeah, it's an opt-in, but I I don't believe half of what they say. It's an opt-in. You can opt in, but the problem is it's still there. Recall shouldn't even be an option optional. It shouldn't be even. I don't know. Don't get me going on that because I'll go off the rails. I just think recall should not be a part of our lives at all. Period. Yes, you can close it down, but I don't think you can completely get rid of it unless they've changed things. But I think they tied that into the operating system, just like Microsoft Edge. You can shut it down, but I don't think you can completely. Chris Titus tried it a couple of times of removing Edge. Um, that wasn't a good time for him. So yes, it can be done, but in the process, what are you going to break by doing that? I think the better option is just to ignore it. Yeah, you can disable it, you can do whatever, but you know, that's why I'm kind of telling people to stick with Windows Home. Windows Pro, Windows 11 Pro is kind of bloaty. It's big. I don't like Windows 11 Pro. Um, I thought about switching over to it until I did some investigating and studying on it, and I think no, I don't think so. I think I'll stay on Windows 11 Home. But other people can do what they want. If you want a Windows 11 Pro, you can go to it. But me personally, there's no need for me to have it. It's more expensive. It's bigger. You know, I'll stick to what I've got. And my talking, my God, it's 25 after already. But yeah, that's about all I know today for Windows 11 and the news that I've been picking at for the last day or so, and kind of just slowly writing things down. But the big one at the top of the list is the price of DDR5. It is expensive, and I don't see the price coming down anytime soon. Not as long as AI is involved in it. You know, everybody kind of said that when AI got here, or when AI got a hold of things, that prices were going to go up. Well, I think just the opposite. I think when AI got here, I think the prices should have went down, but or at least stabilized from where they were. And if they were to go up, they shouldn't have gone up as high as they did. And like I said, it takes people like me off the market. There's no way I can buy a DDR5. There's no way I'm going to be paying for CPUs and video cards that are 4 or 5 times over the price of what they should be. But again, I'm cheap. I think things should be cheap so that the poor people can afford it. And people that don't really have money, but again, I understand why they want the prices why they are. And I don't think AI is all completely involved in it, but it could. Jeff, is that for Windows Home and Windows Pro for recall? Windows features. Yeah, I requires Copilot PC that has a processing unit near NPU. Yeah, that's half the reason why I'm not doing all that stuff. Although Chris Titus said he was playing around with recall, and I don't think he had an NPU. I think he was just saying that recall was there, but I don't know. I don't mess with that stuff, and I don't want to mess with it. And out of sight, out of mind. If it's not there, I'm not going to worry about it. Recall is not really. The link didn't specify home or pro. I think it. If I'm thinking, I think it's for the pro version. I think. Don't tie me into that, but I could be wrong. But I thought a month or so ago, see, all these rumors are coming off of YouTube, and I don't really know if YouTube's right or not. I can go to Reddit, but Reddit in itself is kind of screwed up. So I don't really believe anything on Reddit. I guess the only people I'd want to listen to is Microsoft themselves, because they're the ones building the stuff. But then again, I think they would twist the story to make it sound better than what it is. And of course they would. Marketing would force them to do that. They can't just they can't point out the problems. They gotta make the Windows sound like it's the best thing and gonna get better, and they can't be more excited than what they are for you to use Windows 11 Home and Pro. That's something they've got to do. That's not a choice for them. Of course, they're not gonna point out the bad things about Windows. Although that now they are admitting because they're under pressure that the core features of 24H2 and 25H2 are broken. So that's another thing to think of, is that Microsoft is kind of under the gun at the moment, and a lot of people are just kind of starting to get a little teed off at them and start saying, "Why don't you start admitting some of the stuff instead of hiding it?" And when enough people said that, now Microsoft is coming out from the weeds and saying, "Okay, well, we do have to admit that the core features of Windows 11 are broken." But I think they're too late for that, because I was heard earlier today that 1 million people and up have moved to Linux. I think that says something. That a lot of people, apparently 1 million people, are getting tired of Microsoft's BS. They're just not wanting to deal with it anymore. And I've never understood why this world or people in this world are stuck on using old equipment, old computers from 10, 12, 15 years ago. And I don't know. In my opinion, I think people should probably upgrade. Or if you don't want to, switch to Windows or just switch to Linux. But I don't know. I'm kind of mixed on that. I guess I'm on both sides. Yeah, there should be Linux users. There should be Windows users, but Windows at the moment, I think, is kind of a little shaky because they're noticing that 1 million people went to Linux in a matter of days. It didn't take them long for them to do that. Now that everybody's finding out what Microsoft is doing, and Microsoft is breaking things to fix other things, that's always been a thing. But for me, I just use Windows for what I gotta use it for, and I ignore everything else. And it doesn't bother me. I don't put extra crap on my computers. I don't have a 500,000 programs on my computer. I keep it plain Jane, and it's easy to use. Doesn't cause me any problems. Um, but I don't load down my computers with a bunch of programs. I think on this one that I'm using, I only have like 6 programs that I added to it, and I think one of them I deleted. So I have 5 programs that I added on 5 apps, as you call it, on this one, and there's only DaVinci Resolve and maybe 3 other programs on the bedroom computer that has the MSI motherboard. So well, no, it's got DaVinci, it's got OBS, Firefox, and VLC. That is it. This one here, I think, has 6 or 7 that I've added to it. Even that, I'm cutting down from it. Hello, Weremute. Yeah, I keep forgetting about that Copilot PC that requires a Copilot PC with an NPU. I'm not interested in any of that stuff, so I don't pay attention to it. I talk about the news of it, but that's stuff that I'll probably not use. I'm kind of studying ChatGPT and other AI stuff, but Grok is one of them that I think is another thing that it has to do with Elon Musk. So I do have it on this computer and I do have it on the bedroom computer, but they're just sitting there. I'm not using them because every time I do, it doesn't go too well. Doesn't understand what I'm saying or asking. And you can't just ask it a simple question. When I'm watching videos on all this AI stuff, your question or your statement has to be pretty elaborate. You can't just ask a plain Jane question because it'll just give you the basics, the easiest 1, 2, 3 answers. But if you want a full detailed answer, you have to tell it to put how many paragraphs, how many words, if you want bullet points in it, if you want this or you want that. My brain can't think of all that. So system requires for recall. Oh, goodness. Yeah, if I click on that, it's gonna. Are you sure you want to leave YouTube? Nope. That didn't work like I wanted it to. That didn't get me anything. I gotta go back in the studio. Back into content. Back to live. Yeah, that didn't work. Click on that link and it took me off YouTube. Which, yeah, naturally it would, but I don't want to be off YouTube at the moment. Okay, now I'm back to. Okay. Thought I lost everything for a second. So I'll have to get those articles later. But again, recall and all that stuff really doesn't pertain to me, so I don't know why I'd want to pay attention to it. Microsoft does what Microsoft does, and I just keep doing what I'm doing. None of that stuff is really affecting me, so I've always I'm not. I see other people trying to avoid new technology, and some other people are walking into it. I guess I'm kind of in with the new technology, but I'm a little bit behind. I'm in the far back of the train. I'm not in the caboose, but I'm further back than what most people in America are. And that goes for everything: Windows updates, browser updates, anything. I'm a little bit further behind than everybody else. Everybody else jumps on the bandwagon and says, "Oh my God, we got to update, we got to update," and they hit the update button, and fingers crossed, everything works. I don't do that. I wait a couple of days. Better safer than sorry, just in case. But hardly that just in case is never an issue. So most people update and they don't have problems. I'm just a little bit more paranoid than other people, and I'll wait a couple of days. And I have updates on my computers I got to do, but I'm gonna wait a while. Maybe this upcoming weekend I might. Well, see, it depends if they get that fix out to all computers for the File Explorer flashing when you turn it on. It flashes really quick to a white, but I think they may have fixed that. They might have. So, in that, I think I'm done flapping my lips, and I think I've gone through everything I wanted to go through. I think I've said everything I want to. But yeah, there's just there's just little micro there's just changes in Windows that are coming, and some people like it, some people don't. I just kind of just I ignore it all. I just do what I got to do, and then I don't worry about it. Other people are just they're in panic mode, and I don't understand that. I just I don't get why people are seeing all the stuff coming out, and they're just sitting there constantly worrying about it. I try not to worry about it. I know some things are out there that are kind of buggy, aren't quite working right, but as we all know, Microsoft will eventually fix it. Might eventually fix it. Sometimes some things they do fix, other things they just put on the back burner, because as long as it's working and kind of working, well, really, why would they want to fix it as long as it's kind of working? That's my opinion of it. I think as long as it's somewhat working and Microsoft knows it is working, but not working like it's supposed to, leave it alone. If it completely breaks, then yeah, Microsoft they'll have to be doing something, but as long as things are somewhat working, and that's the way I've been my whole life. As long as something is somewhat working, I'm okay with it. As long as there's some things that don't work right or some things that do work right, but as long as I can get done what I want to do. Ooh, the cops are out running. Sounds like a bunch of them. Sounds like 3 or 4. Um, yeah, that is 3 or 4 cop cars going down Washington Street. But yeah, as long as I can do what I need to do, like if I'm doing DaVinci Resolve, doing OBS, get my email, get on YouTube, and I don't float around the internet a lot. I only stick to certain websites, and I really don't do a lot on the internet. I just stick to what I gotta do, stick to what I've been doing, and for the most part, I stay out of trouble. I don't go wandering around the internet like a lot of people do. They wander around the internet until they get themselves in trouble. I don't do that. I've never done that because I know there are sketchy places on the internet, and I don't want to be scratching at the door of one of those sketchy places, and Malwarebytes has told me it blocked that website because of malware or because of tracking problems. Um, yeah, some of those sites I just kind of stay away from. I just do what I got to do, and as long as it does what I wanted to do, then I really don't worry about things. And I know other people are kind of concerned about it and wishing Windows wouldn't do what they're doing, but guys, they're not going to change. They're not going to change how they're doing things. Yes, they will apologize for mistakes they've made eventually, and they'll admit some of the problems that they've had, like the core features in Windows 11 are broken in 24H2 and 25H2. When enough people hammered on them long enough, Microsoft came out of the weeds and said, "Okay, yeah, we'll admit it. The core features of Windows 11 Home and Pro, the core features are broken. And whether they're going to fix them or not, that's up to them. But again, my computer does what I want it to do, and it does it well. It does it quick. I don't worry about everything else. That's up for everybody else to worry about and complain about and do whatever they're doing. I just stick to what I got to do, and I stay out of other people's noses on Windows. As long as my systems are doing what I want it to do, and I'm happy with what I've got, why should I worry about all those other stuff that's going on? Yeah, I know what's going on because I tell you guys about it, but I really don't worry about it. I don't get into a panic over it. 1 million people switching to Linux simply because of the news they're hearing about Microsoft. I don't understand why they did that. I really, I just don't get it. And I'm sure that number of 1 million people is going to increase the more that Windows keeps doing what they're doing. People are just getting fed up with Windows and saying, okay, I've had enough. They're moving to Windows. Long ago, yes, I used to think about moving to Windows. I used to think maybe I should not moving to Windows, moving to Linux. I've got Windows in my brain. A long time ago, I thought maybe I should try. I should try Linux. Well, I've tried it already. I did that about 2 years ago. Really wasn't happy with what I saw. So I said, you know what? I think I'm going to go back. I'm going to stick with Windows. And Windows is my job. Windows is what I do. And why would I want to switch to Linux? Try to learn a whole new operating system when I'm fully involved in Windows. I think what was it I tried? I think it was Linux Mint. Yeah, there were some things I liked about it, but no, I looked at it and think, yeah, there are some things I like about it, but it's small. It's only what 1 or 2 gigabytes in size, if that. Um, I don't know how big it is. I'm just kind of guessing as far as how far Linux is, but if I want to knock on wood, I just tap my head. I think there's a few other people that said that, a knock on wood. Um, yeah, I've looked at Linux. I've looked at Linux, Ubuntu, Linux Mint. I've looked at some other distros they have, and the same thought that comes back to me is I don't think I'm gonna like this. They've got a lot of other stuff in there that's very confusing to me. I know people on the full nerd. They're trying. There's a few guys on there that are trying Linux, and I think they've hit their stumbling. I think they're kind of stumbling on it because they're trying to learn a whole new operating system. And by the way, I think I got a comment from them, Frog. Oh, what's his name? Her name? I forget. Oh, and of course, I can't get to my comments from here. Live streaming YouTube Studio. Why is there two of them? Yeah, well, Not a lot of people moving to Linux, but there's been 1 million people that have already moved over there. And I think some of those people that are on Linux that move to Linux, I kind of have a suspicious feeling they're, although they might stick with Linux just to be stubborn, just to make sure that people hear their point that Linux is better than Windows. No, not really. Linux can get viruses. Linux, as I've read on Learn Linux TV, Linux itself has its own set of problems. They're not immune to getting or having the same problems that Microsoft does. That's one thing that people kind of need to understand is Windows or Linux is just as vulnerable as what Windows is. They can get attacked just like Windows can. But a lot of people out there saying that Linux is bulletproof. Linux can't get hurt. Oh yes, they can. And if you're believing that Linux can't get hurt, can't get bombarded with problems, you're sadly mistaken. They're just like Windows. They can get attacked. Linux can get attacked. Mac can get attacked. Apple can get. It's all of them are on the same boat nowadays. I think once upon a time, yes, Linux used to be a little bit harder to attack because not too many people were there. But 1 million people have just moved to Linux. That creates a huge problem because now that 1 million people have moved to Linux, Linux is now more open to be attacked. They were kind of a little bit hidden, but they were still getting attacked. But now that more people are moving to Linux, I think Linux is going to start experiencing problems. I don't think this is going to be an easy transition for people like they're saying it is. I think Linux's distros are going to start having problems. I don't think this is just a one-time deal. I think a lot of people are going to move to Linux, and with all the infiltration with people moving to Linux, also invites all the problems that Windows had. So it's a no-win situation in my opinion. If they're moving to Linux, thinking they're not going to get viruses, malware, or get the attacks that other people have gotten, I think they're in for a surprise. I think people are moving over there thinking that they're in a much more better situation, when in my opinion, I really don't think they are. I think they're I think they're okay for now, but the more people that start moving over to Linux, the problems with Linux are going to start showing up. Maybe not now, maybe not for a while, but I do think that Linux and all these new Linux users are going to start creating problems. Maybe not right away, but I do think at some point they are going to start having some kind of little tiny issues. Little tiny issues that are going to grow into big, huge problems. Just like Windows is having, or Microsoft, I should say. Microsoft is having issues with their operating system. Linux, I think at some point, is going to start experiencing some of the problems that Windows is having. I don't think they're immune from any kind of problems. Yeah, I do agree with that, Jeff. But no, it's not going to take over the desktop. But um, people are starting to make their point that they're wanting people to live there, and for corporate companies and all that, I understand they're not going to move to Linux, but I think this is just pretty much the home users, the younger people. I think there might be a few older people that are moving to Linux, or moving to Linux, but then keeping a hard drive that's got Windows. I don't think they're ditching Windows completely. It'd be unwise for them to do that. I think what they should do is probably get into dual booting. Have Windows on one disk, have Linux on the other. I think that's what they should do, because when they start seeing some of the problems that are going to start showing up in Linux, they're not going to like that to say, well, then I'll just go back to Windows, even though Windows is. So yeah, it's kind of iffy, but yeah, I don't think Linux will overtake the world. I just don't see that happening. But I am starting to see a significant shift to people going from. There's even people in my building. There's like 12 people in my building that have went from Windows over to Linux because they just can't understand Windows anymore. They can't understand how to use it because of all these new features, and they're being told to turn some of these features off or a lot of the features, and they just don't know how. They said, well, in fact, the one guy told me, he said, well, instead of fiddling around with Windows, I just had my brother come over, and but he was smart because I told him, I said, if you're going to do that, take the hard drive out of your computer and buy another NVMe or whatever you have and put Linux on that, but keep Windows another on the other hard drive, because if you ever want to go back to Windows, all you gotta do is pick up that drive, put it back in, and you're good to go. And he said, yeah, it was kind of a good point, so that's what he did. He's keeping Windows on the hard drive, and he's got that in his drawer. But for now, and a lot of people in my building, they're just kind of getting the feel for Linux, kind of seeing how it is, seeing if they like it, and within a week or two, or maybe 2 or 3 weeks, if they really don't like Linux, they said unfortunately and sadly, they will have to go back to Windows. But right now, they don't want to. They're just they're they're going over to Linux. But I think some of the people that are on Linux, they're gonna go back to Windows. I think I think that when they kind of feel like how I did with Linux, that I looked at it and I just looked at the desktop and I sat there for like 20 minutes staring at it. I thought, this isn't for me. This is not gonna work. This is not Windows, and there's reasons why I'm sticking to Windows, but Linux, I've heard, is trying to change. For the video cards, uh, mainly the video card drivers. The gaming, Linux is starting to work on that. They are starting to make improvements to the gaming, which you really can't do for a lot of on Linux. But they're starting to change that. The Linux community has heard that the Windows users, or Microsoft, however you want to say it, are on Windows, but they're gamers, and the reason they don't want to go over to Linux is because Linux doesn't work well with NVIDIA or a lot of the games. And Chris Titus has reviewed this over and over and over, that some of the drivers and the NVIDIA and the games just don't play well on Linux. Linux itself is fixing that. They're gonna be able to be more compatible with drivers that came from Windows, and they're switching over to Linux. Um, they are starting to make changes, and I think that's why 1 million people moved over to Linux, because they've heard what Linux said. They said we are going to start making changes to the gaming, to everything that is not working, that's stopping people from going from Windows to Linux. Linux is working on changing all that. And I think a lot of people heard that. Obviously, 1 million people heard it. They said, well, as long as they keep that up and keep doing what they're doing and improving Linux, that's why 1 million people moved. But no, it's not going to overtake the world. No, we've got at least 30 years yet. to go before 20 years maybe, because it's going to be a slow process. I don't think everybody's going to jump over to Linux immediately. Or I could be wrong. Maybe in the next year or so, Windows is going to see a severe drop in users. They're already starting to see a drop from Windows 11 back to Windows 10. Windows 10 use is starting to go back up, and Windows 11 is starting to kind of decline slightly. That kind of tells me that people just don't like Windows 11. They don't like how it behaves. Guys, people, folks, who's ever listening to this video, Windows 11 is Windows 10. All they did is put a new coat of paint on it. And yeah, they changed a couple of things, they added a couple of things, but just do what I do and ignore the things you don't want to use and use the Microsoft Windows computer for what you want it to do and ignore everything else. You'll find out that really Windows isn't really all that bad, but everybody's nitpicking at the bad things about Windows, and if they were to stop doing that and just do what they gotta do or whatever, things wouldn't be so bad. But yeah, I know Microsoft's making some changes that some people aren't happy with, but people, you just gotta live with it. Windows really isn't all that bad. Yes, it has its quirks, but it could be a lot worse. It could be a lot worse. If Microsoft really wanted to dump everything, Windows wouldn't work at all. If they really wanted to get snotty because what people are telling them, and they're getting on Reddit and all these platforms or whatever on the internet and chewing out Microsoft, they'll, come on, people, stop it. Yeah, Microsoft listened to you for a while, and they are listening, but they're gonna, in the end, they're gonna do what they want to do, despite what we say. Even though on some things they are starting to listen to us, but that's only a few things they're listening to, compared to the hundreds of complaints that I'm hearing about Windows Home and Windows 11 Home and Pro. I'm hearing hundreds and hundreds of complaints about all these new features that are coming out, and people don't want the new features. Folks, I would imagine Linux is going to start doing the same thing. Some of the features that Windows have, Linux is looking at. Not recall at some of the other things, but some of the other taskbar changes, I think might come over to Linux. I don't know, but it was kind of surprising for me to hear that 1 million people moved over to Linux. But like Jeff said, it's not going to overtake the world. Most people like me have to stay on Windows. So I don't know, guys. People, take it as what you will. Take what I say with a grain of salt. Don't believe everything I say. Do your research. Do your due diligence to find out what you want to do. Read things on the internet. Talk to people. Just don't take my advice on it, because 90% of the time I'm wrong. But before you make a drastic change like that, talk to people, read things, do your studying, do your research, and study Linux and study Windows and compare the two. And if you really want to move to Linux, like I said, don't drop Windows. Either do a boot or take your Windows 11 hard drive out and then put another hard drive in and put Linux on it. I think it'd be ill-advised for me to tell you to completely ditch Windows. Format the hard drive that Windows was on and put Linux on it. I think that's a bad thing to do, because some people are on Windows or on Linux. They're not going to be so happy because they're having to relearn everything, especially the power. Linux is not for power users. That's a whole different ball game. You're gonna have to relearn things, and for some people don't like learning. Yeah, Linux could be a little bit of a problem. But with all that, everything that I said, I'm gonna finally zip it, and I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna do other things. But I hope you all get some kind of good advice out of this, some good information. Then of course, if any of you have questions, ask me. I don't get comments anymore. I don't get people throwing questions at me and getting my point of view on things, so I can keep making videos. That's kind of why it's not as exciting as it should be, because my comments, except for maybe one or two, I get no comments. And I did get one from that Froggy 377 or 77 something. And when I clicked on that name, the full nerd popped up. So somebody from the full nerd, I think, is watching my live streams. Whoever it is from the full nerd, hello. Um, and if any of you haven't, if any of you but don't know, my name is Rick Lakes. I live in Minnesota, and I'm just here to share Windows news with you. That's all I'm doing. I would like to do computer builds and other things, but gotta have the money for that, and I don't got it. Until next time, guys, I'm gonna say goodbye with this one, and hope you all have a great day. Go through chat really quick. Oh, Jeff Ryman. Jeff Ryman said a lot today. That's all I'm seeing is Jeff Ryman. So, and thanks for all the information, Jeff. I'm not complaining about it. I'm glad you're putting that out there. Just noticed you've been kind of busy lately, typing things, which is good. You were leaving links for people to click on. And those links don't work with me for some reason. I click on links and funny things happen. I have to decide between Red Hat, Enterprise Linux, Clone, Alma Linux, or Rocky. I've heard Rocky Linux is okay. Ubuntu LTS, if any of them, Jeff, probably that's the one I'd go to. If I were to go to Linux, is Ubuntu. That's what I would do. But of course, as you guys know, I'm not going to. I'm gonna stick on Windows. And I do apologize for people that don't like hearing that, but I've been on Windows my entire life. If I switch over to Linux, eventually I'm going to turn myself right back around and go back to Windows. So that's my point of view on it. But at any rate, Jeff Ryman, Ski Man, Ken Stout, Wintermute, Robert, Tim. I think I got everybody. Maybe a few other people that I wish would show up today didn't get here today, but I know I'm probably doing these videos at the wrong time of day. Everybody's probably at school or at work. So I'm kind of missing the bigger crowd, which is why I'd like to do a morning video. I did a morning video the other day, but I ended up deleting it. But I had a few other new people on there, but they were threatening other countries, and I said, that's not gonna work. I don't know who I got a hold of, but what those people were talking about, no, that wasn't gonna work. People were saying they should nuke Asia and whatever. It's like, no, guys, we don't talk like that on this channel. No. And when I told him to stop, he said okay, but that was also the last time I heard from him. So sorry I broke his bubble, but I won't go for that. So in the meantime, hope you all have a great day. What is today? Today is Wednesday. Tomorrow's Thursday. There will be a live stream. Same time, same place, same channel. And until then, guys, bye for now. Oh, how do I shut this off? Oh, yeah.